or descriptive words such as segregation, meaning to separate, prejudice, meaning a bad feeling or thought associated with a person, and discrimination, meaning classification of a group. There are many types of discrimination and prejudice, the main ones being gender, religious, racial, relation of mental or physical disabilities, and social class. However, these are a few of the main ones. Two that I will be covering today and that are very relevant at this time are religious and gender. Some causes of discrimination and prejudice include masculine and feminine actions that can lead to ridicule and adaptation to their actions to fit in or be like others. To have a lower acceptance rate from certain schools and certain jobs, and even in our own country, we use to restrict rights and laws of certain genders, and this still happens in other places today. Some causes of religious prejudice and description also include the belief of one religion being considered superior or right, causing hatred. One example of this hatred is religious wars such as a very well-known action known as the Crusades, which caused many deaths and many injuries of loved ones. Similarly to gender restrictions, rights and laws were also restricted in our country due to religion and are restricted in other countries today. Jobs have lower chances of being accepted for certain religions and also for schools. Thank you. Up next will be John Carroll.
Hello, my name is John Carroll, and my subtopic is how to reduce racial profiling. Racial profiling is currently a big problem within our nation. Some basic but effective ways are raising awareness, educating through technology, and informing police, since that's an area of which racial profiling occurs. These ways of reducing racial profiling reduce it in the way of people knowing more about it. Raising awareness. Raising awareness has a big effect on reducing racial profiling because people are unaware of the outcomes of racial profiling. Many people have a general idea of what racial profiling is, but don't know what it can cause or when it occurs around them. Raising awareness is important because it helps people get a better understanding of racial profiling, which could possibly prevent situations where it occurs. Educating through technology. Educating or informing through technology falls back into raising awareness. But educating through technology is different because it has a greater potential to reach more people. Nowadays, technology is huge, and some people can't imagine living without it. So educating through technology is just a good way of reaching a lot of people to inform them about racial profiling. This is why educating through technology is a good way to reduce racial profiling. Informing law enforcement. When the topic of racial profiling comes up, a lot of people think about how people are mistreated by law enforcement because of their ethnicity. They probably think about this because this is where racial profiling occurs and it comes up on the news. So informing law enforcement or even supporting to put policies in place could help prevent racial profiling. So raising awareness through ways like technology and informing police could reduce future events in which racial profiling occurs.
Hi, my name is Alex Garcia, and my subtopic is effects of stereotyping and racism. Stereotyping and racism have a lot of negative effects. From my research on this topic, I've concluded that the consequences of racism range from negative psychological effects to socioeconomic disadvantages to health disparities. For example, exposure to racism and racial discrimination has been associated with elevated blood pressure and unhealthy coping behaviors such as overeating and smoking. And socioeconomic disadvantage and poor health outcomes during gestation and childhood have been shown to predict chronic diseases later in life. A major place where indirect racism affects minorities is voting. Although the government cannot directly stop minorities and poor people from voting, they can rig it against them. There's a term called use it or lose it that keeps people from voting, including Ohio, and people in charge of the voting also make people do fluency tests for people that did not receive a good education that restricts them from voting. A poll by Donna Batten was taken to see how many people were influenced by racism and how they were. Many minorities were unrightly arrested. Hispanic and African American students are shown to be 2.5 to 5 times more likely to be unrightly or without reason being arrested as compared to white students.
Hello, my name is Kyle Jordan, and my subtopic is how we create stereotypes. Stereotypes are thoughts in our heads, typically based on real-life experiences. Stereotypes are how we think of a type of people or person. Emotions like this can be influenced by real-life experiences or events that stick in our heads as thoughts. Stereotypes typically start from a young age. Traumatic experiences can create thoughts that influence the way we think. These stereotypical thoughts can be transferred by friends, the news, and social media. All of the examples are in daily life. Stereotypes can happen at any age during our lifetime. Some of these thoughts develop by getting told about them or hearing about them. Family members can pass down stereotypes, creating a barrier in the generations of the family. The more trust you have in the person telling you these thoughts, the more you believe them. Thank you.
For our action plan, we went to UT and we talked to the Dean of Students, the cultural and social principal, and we also talked to some students and handed out pamphlets and explained it to them. Now we'll show our documentary. We're from St. John's and we're doing an 8th grade project on stereotyping and racism, and we have to go out and inform people about it. So what I would like to let you know is there's ways to reduce it and stuff like that, being in groups of diverse people, so that you don't just look at someone from far away, just assume what they're gonna be more be near them and talk to them, so that you can talk to them and know what they are for as a person, instead of what they're just in their mind, you know what I mean?
Ways to reduce racial profiling and stereotyping also is to raise awareness, we're kind of doing right now, and it's through anything really, technology, anything, just to raise awareness about it.
So stereotypes don't always have to be bad. They can be good as well. Oh, that person looks nice today, or oh, that guy's pretty cool. You can automatically assume that someone is cool by the time you actually meet them. So not everything has to be bad about stereotypes. Of course, you can look at someone and kind of judge them from that standpoint, but then once you get to know them more, you can actually understand them more and understand that they're a good person and understand more about them and what they like.
Have you ever experienced any stereotyping, race profiling, or ever seen it happen?
So, yes, actually. So as much at the institution because people feel differently. Maybe not feel differently, but they know enough not to make some of those judgments. But there are still microaggressions that happen that give me pause.
So my question is, racial profiling and stereotyping is a big deal, and in your opinion, what are some good ways to prevent it?
One great way is getting students, your generation, because you're going to be the one who solves this problem. And it's nothing that started last night or last week. It's something in our history, right? But speak the truth, anticipate discomfort, and find a resolution. And what I mean by that, if you see something, you say something. You see something that is a stereotype, you bring it out with your friends, with your family, and you identify what it is, and you just make sure you don't do it. That's one of the basic ways that you can resolve it. Thank you.
Throughout our action project, I learned that stereotyping and profiling is natural and that it isn't always bad. This affected me because it showed that we actually can change this. If we were to change something, it would be to be less shy on camera and to have a deeper conversation with people. But when I did have deep conversations, this is one of the many things that I enjoyed.
What I learned that many people have different ideas of racial profiling and different ideas of ways to prevent it. I also learned that racial profiling occurs a lot more than I thought it did, and it also hurts a lot more people than I thought. What would I change? I would have asked more questions rather than inform, and to get a better understanding of people and how they feel about racial profiling. What did I enjoy? I enjoyed talking to people, and I enjoyed the experience at UT.
I learned a lot about how racism affects people. I would like to talk to more people if I had the chance, and I enjoyed meeting the dean and hearing people's responses to my questions.
Before doing this project, I didn't know too much about stereotyping and racial profiling, but at this point in the project, I've learned so much about how there's more than one kind of stereotype, how there's different kind of stereotypes, and not all stereotypes are bad. I've also learned what other people's opinions are on it, which was also another fun thing to learn of what other people had to say about it. And I just enjoyed learning about this project a lot, and it just benefited me in so many ways to help benefit the community around.
Is there any questions? We were able to talk to four people that were like at the institution that worked there, and we were able to talk to about like 6 students.
Okay. Do you feel like it was hard to get people to come and sit down, or were they willing to, or did they just ask you why?
Most of the people were pretty open to the idea of doing it. I think it's because it's like a very diverse place, so yeah.
I mean, it takes courage, and especially go to a university and talk to college students, be 8th graders, 14-year-old boys. It takes courage to go up to adults and college students to get them involved in your project. So I thought that was really cool, and you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. Well, the part that we put into the video was kind of like us talking about our pamphlet, but like afterwards they like actually talked to us, and like they were like telling us how like cool it was that we were doing this stuff and stuff like that. So
Did you learn from them as well?
yeah, I learned that like a lot of like the kids there, they really don't have that many problems with that because it's more of a diverse place. So.
Yeah, we tried to go Barnes & Nobles, but the manager there did not give permission to the person who told us that we were allowed to record interviews with them there, so we weren't able to do Barnes & Nobles.